This is Lori Grenier. You've seen me on Shark Tank hearing pitches from small businesses. Now, there's a new way for small businesses to get a loan in minutes. It's called Cabbage. That's Cabbage with a K. Just fill out the application online. You'll get an instant decision and could have access to a line of credit of up to $100,000. No waiting, no hassle. Cabbage is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and is a Forbes Top 100 company. Go to Cabbage.com, that's Cabbage with a K, Kabbage, or call 888-CABBAGE.
The Pirates and Cardinals have the best two records in baseball, and they go head-to-head one final time this regular season. Could this be a preview of next week's division series? Coverage begins Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio. This is the Best of Mike and Mike podcast on ESPNRadio.com. The Best of Mike and Mike.
Hi, it's Greeny. Thank you for checking out the Best of Mike and Mike podcast. Here's what we have for you. We won Powerball. Sort of. We all won less than $1. Giants, a big winner on Thursday Night Football. We talk about that. We had Rob Lowe making celebrity picks. Ron Jaworski today. Joey Galloway, Rashad Jennings of the Giants, and Cris Carter in our studio talking football with you.
The Best of Mike and Mike.
And good morning. We're back in better than ever. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Welcome to a Football Friday with Mike and Mike. A healthy heap of baseball will be sprinkled in along the way with magic numbers and clinchings and such. But we must begin with the very big news before we get to the Giants in Washington last night. We told you yesterday that we didn't win the Powerball, but we found out as the day went on there is good news. We did win money yesterday.
We did win money.
Powerball.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Everybody sees the big number at the end and to win that, and then when you don't win that, nobody did, by the way. So, part of the story is we're going to jump back into it again, but then you look at other amounts of money that you can win, and Bubba, who is running this whole thing, hit us with that great news yesterday.
We won $8.
Yep.
There are 13 of us in this.
Uh-huh.
So we won 62 cents each.
62 cents. That's confirmed.
It's a poor return on investment if you think about it, because it cost us each $20 to get that 62 cents. But we've all but one of us decided to let it ride. Sethy took the 62 cents.
Yeah.
Seth Horwitz took the 62 cents.
Oddly enough, so Bubba, sent out the email saying, hey, if everybody wants to throw in another 20 for the Saturday's drawing, we'll try this again, and I'm going to let the $8 we won ride as well. I'll get more tickets unless you want your 62-cent cut. To which I'm sure when most people read that email that he sent out, we all chuckled. It's pretty funny. Well, Seth took the money.
He took the 62 cents. Now, what I don't think is unreasonable is to say, look, I'm not wasting another $20 on this.
Sure.
I think you leave Bubba with the 62 cents for his trouble. Bubba's the one who went out and got all the tickets. He checked everything for us. If I were going to get out at this point, I'd let Bubba keep the 62 cents.
Right.
Sethy took the 62 cents.
And here's the amazing thing. I'd like anyone at any point of their day today to reach into your pocket and actually have 62 cents in change.
Bubba had it.
Yeah,
he did.
This is before 6 a.m. Eastern time in the morning, and Bubba had 62 cents in his pocket.
I think there may be nothing that sums up the Mike and Mike staff better than that. Bubba had 62 cents at his disposal. Just readily available. You need 62 cents. Mike and Mike is the place to come.
Yeah, you thought he maybe had a buck, because I guarantee if he had a buck, Sethy would have had the change in his pocket.
Yeah, Sethy would have had the 38 cents, or he would have owed it to him.
Exactly.
All right, Mike, the Giants are a good football team. I have been saying that all along. I picked them to go to the playoffs before it started.
You did.
The Giants should be 3-0. They are right now 2 plays away from being 3-0, and don't let the final score of last night's game fool you. The Giants dominated Washington last night. The offense is playing very well. Their defense, which is not that good, it played well last night. Now, I don't know how much of that is them being good and Kirk Cousins just being awful last night. We'll get into that. But Eli Manning was terrific. Beckham is terrific. They found other places to go with the football last night, and Ruben Randall. They're going to get Victor Cruz back. I think if this had been a regular week, he might have played in week 3. He'll play in 10 days when they go to Buffalo. The Giants are a pretty good team, and in that division, I think right now, if you told me I had to bet money on one team to win that division, I would seriously consider putting my 62 cents on the New York Football Giants.
I do think it could be a legitimate look there, given what's going on in this division, which obviously we'll get into more as we preview Week 3. 2 special team touchdowns in this, as as the Giants, not touchdowns, but points. The Giants start this off with a block punt out of the back of the end zone, so they started off with a safety, and the Redskins get a meaningless kickoff return for a touchdown later in the fourth quarter to close out the scoring. This was a Giant-dominated game to the point where, again, they had a double-digit fourth-quarter lead like they had in the first two games of the season, yet lost those first two games here. They held on to it 15-6 at half, 18-6 after the third. So going into the fourth quarter with a 12-point lead, they extended 25-6, then a touchdown for Washington, extended 32-14 before that kickoff return. To me, Greeny, the Giants' offense, I don't have as much concerns. If Eli isn't turning the ball over, or we even know the couple of dumb plays that went on, I mean, they're everywhere, and the best thing that could happen to move on from that is to have a good game and get a win.
Right, a short week, win a divisional game, right. Now be able to sit back and relax for a few days.
To make you forget about that a little bit, or at least move on. You don't always forget about it. But their offense, to me, I've liked their offense. I don't think it's ever going to be, it's not going to be a great rushing offense. But if you can do enough at times to help with the passing because of Odell Beckham and Ruben Randle last night, as you mentioned, you're going to get Victor Cruz back as well. The defense, I thought, did a nice job. Kirk Cousins last year in the game against the Giants, I believe, threw 4 interceptions. So he certainly had his issues, but Washington's had a pretty good running game as well. They're the only team that has 2 players over 150 yards so far this season with Jones and with Morris. And they did average almost 4.5 yards a carry. They only ran it 20 times, but they were down in the game. You're down 15-6, 18-6, 25-6. You have to pass a little more to get in it. But I like what the Giants' defense did. The offense, to me, is going to score. The defense, to me, is going to be one of those points that has to obviously hold the other teams. I don't know how many shootouts they can actually win, but I do think the offense can score some points. So last night, to me, while the emphasis has been on the offense and the mistakes that have gone on, to me it was the defense. I thought a good performance out of them last night, and you really have to, this team just kind of floating under the radar outside of the not smart plays that went on. That they're moving along really comfortable, even at 1-2, given what's going on with the Eagles and the Cowboys.
Yeah, so that's a good start for the Giants. I agree. The things they don't do, I think, are easily things you can live without. Which is to say, they don't have a dominating defense. A lot of really good teams don't have a dominating defense. They don't run the ball. You know what? In the NFL today, a lot of people don't run the ball. When they get Victor Cruz back, I think they could have a very efficient move the chains offense with the big play weapon that they have in Odell Beckham, and some of the numbers are remarkable. So Eli Manning, 14 out of 16 last night when targeting Odell Beckham Jr. and Ruben Randle. 14 out of 16, 12 yards per attempt, a couple of touchdowns, and 11 first downs. All 7 of Randle's catches went for first downs. And as far as a couple of other numbers on Eli, he now has 263 career passing touchdowns, which breaks a tie with Dave Craig. He's now 12th all-time. Next up is Joe Montana, 10 away. And Manning won his 100th career game, including playoffs, 92 regular season wins, 8 playoff wins. And if anyone ever needed a win, it was Eli Manning. And I had this thought as I watched his game Sunday against the Falcons, and I had it again. His sort of steadiness is at times a really, really good quality to have. When things are going well, or when there's really nothing going on, sometimes you look at him and you say, I want to see a little fire.
Right.
But you know what? When things are bad, you need someone who stays steady.
Stays calm. That's been him the whole time. I've covered him in college as well. His demeanor does not change.
He stayed steady, and it worked out for him. Here was Eli after the win.
I thought we had a great week of preparation, and obviously we were frustrated. We had two games where we could have won. We're right there to win it, and we didn't play our best in the fourth quarter. So Coach challenged us. We challenged ourselves to say, hey, the fourth quarter comes, we got to elevate our play. We got to start playing our best football, and I think we did that tonight.
And that's what they did. They played their best football, and again, a short week. Now you can sit back and rest for a little while. After the Buffalo, they go to Buffalo. That's obviously not an easy place to play, regardless of what it is that Tom Brady did to them. But if you look at their schedule after that, you got it in front of you, Mike?
I do.
Read it off.
They go to Buffalo, then they're home to San Francisco.
That's a win.
At Philly.
That's a very interesting game. Let's see what the Eagles are. The Eagles could be in full-fledged implosion mode.
Home to Dallas, minus Tony Romo and Dez
Dez, right, to get them at the right time.
At New Orleans, at Tampa Bay.
All right, that's I mean, right now look like 2 wins.
And then home to New England before their bye. So that's obviously a tough one there.
Katie bar the door.
Well, let me say this as well. If you're a Giant fan, did you have a little go back in time and realize what happened back in 2007?
Yeah, when they started 0-2 and then beat Washington. Yeah.
So, no, what happened that year?
Yeah, then they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
of course.
I mean, well, of course. I don't know how many people are just, remembering that.
No, but my point is, people will, so they were 0-2, they beat Washington, and then they won the Super Bowl. I mean, these are completely different teams.
No, I understand that. I just for the start, when you're 0-2 and you think, how much trouble we're in, say, you know what, you did it before.
Oh, just the fact that they were 0-2.
Just the fact that they were 0-2, that's all. And they started that season at Dallas as well, and lost in 2007, and then they were home to Green Bay and lost that. But yeah, just the fact you're 0-2, then you're still able to go on, and we always bring that stat out all the time, 2-0, 0-2. They were 0-2 and won the Super Bowl.
Well, the biggest thing they have going for them right now is the division. If you're going to start 0-2 and start looking at odds of getting someplace, you have to look at start with the division.
That's why we kept saying the Colts, we thought had a great chance of still getting into the playoffs because of the division. And for the Giants, it's a little different. It's we just don't know what's going on with the Eagles and the injuries that have gone on in Dallas.
Odell Beckham Jr.
Oh boy.
Now has 110 receptions in his first 15 games. That is, by a significant margin, the most of all time. He's number 1. Anquan Bolden is 2 with 96. Eddie Royal is 3 with 91. So by practically 1 reception per game, it's 15 games and the margin is 14. So just about by 1 catch per game, he has the most catches ever in his first 15 games. He also is behind only a very small select group in most receiving touchdowns. He has 14 receiving touchdowns in his first 15 career games. Randy Moss and Billy Houghton had 16, Bob Hayes 15, and Odell Beckham Jr. 14. You can't. The kid is off to an historically great start.
He is, but you have to look at Ruben Randle. You need a compliment if you're going to go somewhere. If this team is going to do what we're talking about them, the possibility of them doing, they have to have a compliment to it. And obviously, they lost Victor Cruz last year, so is Ruben Randle that guy that steps up? Because you're going to get Victor Cruz back, and boy, if he can stay healthy, what a threesome you got there. Just think about it last night of targeting and receptions. Randall targeted 7 times, 7 receptions. Beckham targeted 9 times, 7 receptions. So 16 targets, 14 completions off of that for 195 yards and a couple of TDs between the two of them. So even though he is great, we've seen one person can be great at receiver and the team can still not go anywhere. But when you have that complement to the other side, pretty good tight end, I think, as well, and possibly have 3 receivers, you're going to be looking something offensively.
Mike and Mike, our fall football tour continues Monday. It's brought to you by La Quinta Inns and Suites. We'll be live in Green Bay Monday, Chiefs and Packers Monday night. La Quinta takes care of you so you can take care of business. Book now at LQ.com. On the other side, Mike, Washington was awful last night. Again, those 2 late touchdowns, one of them on a kickoff return. Kirk Cousins is Jay Gruden's hand-picked guy, and he is going to sink or swim with him. And when you consider the fact that no matter what the rest of the world thinks of RG3, we know what the owner thinks of him.
Right.
So I think that maybe this is just my external perception, but I think that the coach is in a situation where the owner is saying, okay, you chose this guy over my guy? Go ahead. You're the coach. I'll let you choose him. But he better play well. And last night he didn't play well at all. I thought he was just terrible. The Giants do not have a great defense. If you watch what Matt Ryan did to them last week, if you watch Tony Romo go through them like a hot knife through butter at times. Now, those are sometimes misleading because late in the third quarter of that game against Atlanta, the Falcons only had 10 points. And until the fourth quarter of that game against the Cowboys, the Giant defense was holding it together a little bit, and that was with Romo and with Dez. But last night, Washington was just atrocious. The play-action game, they're play-action faking to no one. I credit John Butchergrass for pointing this out to me when I was watching the highlight this morning on my way in. He said, and there's a play-action fake to no one.
Yeah. Back going one way, play-action going the other. It doesn't mean a whole lot. It's not.
And he throws an interception on that play deep in his own territory.
It's not. Now, I I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's not supposed to look that way.
I would hope not.
Rarely do you play action to nobody, because obviously everybody understand the whole idea of play action of making it look like it's a run to hold everybody up. But yeah, he struggled. He struggled in the game last year against the Giants, as I mentioned as well. They do have a good running game, which should be a nice help to a quarterback. But as I said, they ran it 20 times total. For just, I believe it was 88 yards. And the game, it is 4.4 per carry, but they like to control the game with the running attack. But they got down in this game, so they got to start throwing it a little more. I do like their defense, but that's going to, we always talk about the quarterback. You can't turn the ball over. Turns the ball over twice last night, hurt you. So just when we maybe were starting to wonder the winner of this game, where we're going to give them a little more love, if it was Washington, if we came in this morning and said Cousins played a good game, they ran the ball well, the defense played tough, and they won that game, would we be saying the same thing about them because of where Philly is and where Dallas is? So we're saying it about the Giants, and deservedly so. They got to clean up the fact they're giving up, an average of 15 points a game right now in the fourth quarter alone. That's something that has already cost them a couple of times, and 3 games now in a row it's happened, but they got to get a win in this one. That is something they really have to clean up.
Now you get a win and a break, and we see what happens. Kirk Cousins has started 12 games for Washington. Do you know what his record is?
A little to a lot.
3-9.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times he's turned the ball over?
I would say a decent amount of times.
23.
Yeah.
23 turnovers in 12 career starts.
You got no shot if that's happening.
And you got Robert Griffin III out there in street clothes throwing the ball around before the game, and people just watching it and wondering what in the world is this all about. It just feels wrong. There's just something about the whole thing that doesn't feel right. I'll keep saying it until somebody listens. There's no reason to have him on that roster. His mere presence at this point, even if he's doing nothing wrong, even if he is the ultimate cheerleader, even if he is helping in every way, whatever way the third-string quarterback who's inactive can help, his mere presence, at least to me, is not helping. And Cousins,
I don't know if I go that far, because players are getting ready for a game. I mean, they're not.
But it's not just the game. I mean, it's just all week long and all of the.
What? What's going on? See, I keep hearing this. What's going on all week long? What's going on in that building when the offensive line is watching their film or doing their walkthrough or lifting their weights? What's going on in your mind that's affecting them?
I think that the owner is watching the quarterback throw 23 turnovers in 12 games and saying, why isn't my guy out there?
Well, if you're looking at the whole thing like that, I'm talking about during the week when the players are preparing for a game. That's not what's going through their mind. We keep talking about this distraction. I don't buy into it as much. Players are preparing. The O-line, the running backs, the tight end, they're preparing their way for a game. They don't have time to worry about who's at quarterback or not. Now, I'm not saying they don't at all. I'm not saying when they sit down today or have the weekend off, and the thought process might be, why, this may not be working, and if this keeps going like this could be an issue. I will certainly grant you that. But as far as during the week distraction as they're preparing for a game, I think that's overblown.
Let's hear from Jay Gruden last night on his quarterback after an 11-point loss that wasn't that close at the Giants.
And you go on the road and you play a big division game, a rivalry game like this, turn the ball over 3 times and have a punt blocked, I would say it's going to be very tough to overcome. Now, Kirk was fine. We, like I said, we got to play better around him, and there's no quarterback controversy whatsoever. We got to do some things around him. We can't make this all about the quarterback. We got to create some turnovers on defense. We got to continue to run the ball, and receivers got to make some plays. And Kirk's got to do better. We all got to do better.
See, that's all fine.
Right.
But if you watched Ryan Clark's breakdown on SportsCenter, and we're going to get Ryan in here with his thoughts on this as well, I mean, a lot of that is on the quarterback. If you watch the game last night, he can talk all he wants about how we got to do things around him. Well, you can't do anything around him when he's forcing a short pass in there for no reason, when he's throwing the ball over the middle into coverage, when he's dramatically, or whatever the word I'm looking for is, underthrowing a guy who's wide open up the left side for a touchdown. Those are on the quarterback. And those are plays that a good quarterback in the NFL makes right now. And the owner is sitting there thinking, you know what, maybe Robert makes that play. I think that is a factor here, much more so. You and I clearly disagree on this. I think it's more of a factor than you do. And I think they're in real trouble.
When you say factor, I'm not sure what you're saying is a factor. I agree with you on some case. I disagree with you on the players preparing for a game. That's all I was talking about. That we think this is some huge distraction as, the defense or the O-line, as I said, are in their meetings or in their weight room. It's not a distraction to them. They're preparing for a game. But your overall thought of what the ownership and coach, I agree with you there. And I also think Jay Gruden still to this point, we keep saying, what's the best way to not have a quarterback controversy? As Bill Polian said, Paul Brown told him, don't have a quarterback controversy.
Right.
Okay, so Jay Gruden is trying not to get involved in one, and I understand that right now. So you say, he's our quarterback. We all need to get better. What else is he supposed to say right now? He's not going to say anything else publicly, but if it continues this way, there's no doubt it's going to lead to something. I completely agree with you on that. But right now, he's got to say that. You have to sound united, or at least give that thought process going forward. But if the turnovers continue, that definitely has to change.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing him for what he said. I'm just saying it isn't accurate. He's saying what he has to say. But if you watched that game last night, that was not about the receivers need to make a play. That was about the quarterback playing lousy. And that can happen. But there is a particular microscope that they are under because of the circumstances.
There is. Rarely do you see, not because of injury, a number 2 pick overall just a couple of years ago in street clothes.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
Football's back, and it already feels like the playoffs thanks to 1 Week Fantasy at DraftKings.com. With millions of dollars in prizes being paid out each week, every play in every game could take you closer to a life-changing payday. Hurry to DraftKings.com now. Use promo code REPLAY and play for free with your first deposit in this Sunday's $1 million fantasy contest. This isn't fantasy as usual. This is DraftKings. Welcome to the big time. Enter REPLAY for free entry now only at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Golic, our celebrity pickers for weeks 1 and 2, have done a pretty good job.
Yes,
they have combined 5-1 between the two of them. And joining us now, he's been one of the best-known actors, frankly, for our entire lives.
He has.
His new series is set to premiere, The Grinder, on Fox. Here's Rob Lowe with us on Mike and Mike. Good morning, Rob.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Doing well.
We're doing great. And the first place I have to start is this. I don't know if you would ever have had this experience, but sometimes if you date a woman and then she leaves you and she goes on to other things, you might feel jealous. When you see Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning and Eli Manning doing all these DirecTV commercials, all these different guys, that was you. That was your gig. You were the only one doing it. Now everyone is doing it. What do you think when you see those guys doing your old spot?
Well, here's my disclaimer, first of all, is I know a lot of those guys personally, and I love them, and they're my favorites, and they're why I watch the NFL. Okay, now that I'm done with my disclaimer, I want to say, yeah, see, think it's easy, don't you? Yeah, right? And it makes me go, hey, maybe I should think about running a 2-minute offense for the Colts. I mean, if they think they can eat out of my dog dish, why can't I eat out of theirs?
Well, quite honestly, the way it's been going for the Colts right now, they may be looking for help, but probably not at the quarterback position. Before we obviously want to get to the picks down the road, but just love talking to you about what you've been doing. And while movies and TV shows, what about sports movies? Certainly, I remember Youngblood as the hockey player, but when you do a sports movie, because you're a sports guy, you dig sports, do you like those more, or is it just another role, or how do you go about preparing for that sports type movie?
Well, first of all, I love sports movie genres, love them, and am frankly kind of bummed that I haven't found one or been offered one since Youngblood, and that was when I was a kid. So I love them, and for Youngblood, there was a lot of learning how to skate. I mean, every aspect of it. It got me into working out. I think I did Youngblood when I was just turning 20, and the biggest gift Youngblood ever gave me was a lifelong devotion to training, which carries on to this day. But I can remember starting that with Youngblood. I wanted to kill myself. Oh my God, the absolute worst. I can remember skating over to the boards and vomiting, and then having to go back to practice. And, I ended up falling in love with training. So that's the fun part, is having to learn the trade.
But how great is it when you read the script and at the end of it you're going to get to wear somebody out? That's got to be a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. Anytime the movies can make anybody look like a stud, right? So, if I go to hockey games, even today, if I go to hockey games, people go crazy. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. You don't really want to see me skate. Believe me.
Rob Lowe is with us. My son last year for school had to read the book The Outsiders. And so I went back and watched that movie. He loved the book, and we went back and watched the movie. And every time I see it, I am amazed at the volume, just the number of guys, young guys like yourself, who were in that movie in varying roles, who went on to have huge careers. So if you could, just for a minute, some recollections from that between Patrick Swayze and Tom Cruise and yourself and Matt Dillon, and on it goes. What are a couple of memories you have from that?
Boy, geez, man, it's like it was like me going away to college. I was 17, turning 18. I'd never been away from home. I'd never. It was like having my first dorm, was sharing a room with C. Thomas Howell at the Marriott in, Oklahoma. So it was all about how could we be the best actors we could be, and how much could we drink secretly, like most 18 and 19-year-olds. I'm surprised Tulsa survived having that many testosterone-riddled, single, first time away from home, fledgling movie stars running amok. There'll never be anything like it. There'll never be another movie like it. There'll never be another experience like it. And the fact that each year a new crop of seventh graders discover it through having to read the book and see the movie in schools is great.
I want to make the analogy like we do in sports when we talk to people who have played for a long time, what their sport was like when they first got in and where it is now. And, Greeny just brings up The Outsiders as, going back again. I'm 52, about last night, St. Elmo's Fire, all
Class. Don't forget Class. I love the movie Class.
But all the way in making the point, going back to those and then up through, the Tommy Boys of the world and into Parks and Rec, and now here with the Grinders still being in it for the length of time. So in the sports analogy, what to you has been the biggest difference in TV and movies from when you first got into this to where you are now?
There's so many. We could talk for 2 hours on that, but if I had to pick one, I would say that when I started, the business was totally adult-centric. Like the sweet spot of the business, where all of the money was made were films with with adult people: Paul Newman, Robert Redford, Jane Fonda, people like that who are, in their late 40s, 50s, Now the business is totally and utterly driven by people in their 20s. And when I started, films for young people were sort of ghettoized. They made them, but they sort of didn't have any prestige. They didn't have any money behind them. They were like B-movie, drive-in movie, Porky's type things. And now the entire business is predicated on 20-year-olds. And I think, we were a part in bringing that into fashion with the success of those early Brat Pack movies.
Well, quite honestly, Porky's is all about what maybe you had before you went in to see the movie. Yeah. How good that was.
Let's not knock Porky's here.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
And I was going to say that is that Rob Lowe is with us, that if the entire thing started turning, it was you who turned it, right? You and the other guys with St. Elmo's Fire, movies like The Breakfast Club, the enormous success of those. I really think you could sort of trace that change in the business to that exact period of time.
And I think it's not too much of a stretch to say you're right, but as always, there are other extenuating circumstances. There was the birth of MTV happened at that moment, which was completely youth-driven. That blew up as well. And it's sort of a confluence of events, but there's no question that I was right there along with some others at the birth of what is now completely obliterated any semblance of what the business used to be like for sort of, adult storytelling.
One other thought on that I'm fascinated by. Both Mike and I are dads. His kids are a little, in their 20s. My kids are just becoming teenagers. And I look at people now like Miley Cyrus and Justin Bieber, and I just wonder, I can't even imagine becoming that kind of famous at that age. Now, you were older than that, but you were incredibly famous, and frankly, look, every woman in the world loved you when you were 19 or 20 years old. Just what was that like, and what are the pitfalls of something like that? Because we've seen a lot of people have a lot of trouble with stuff like that.
Well, it's funny. I've written 2 bestsellers in the last 4 years, and one of the big themes in both of the books is that, and it's sort of hard to boil down, but it's a fascinating thing. Look, I'm a parent now, and I have kids now who are way older now than I was when I went through all of that. And so when I look at my own kids, I go, wait a minute. I was them, and I was famous, and I was flying to New York and starring in this and on my own with, like, wads of cash and per diem and no supervision. What? Look, the other part of it is fame is the one drug we have not created a rehab for.
That's a great point.
What a great
I really believe that.
Yeah, that's a great point. So now the new sitcom out, The Grinder, with Fred Savage. So tell us a little bit about that.
Guys, I'm telling you, I haven't felt this way about a new show since The West Wing, where, we're at that moment. We have 6 in the can, but no one's really seen them other than critics. Critics are really into it, which is really, really feels great, but America hasn't seen it yet. And I wanted to find something that was as good as Parks and Recreation if I was going to do another comedy. And this thing, man, it is so funny. It made me laugh out loud, the scripts, when I read them. And, already we're getting actors seeing it, calling up and asking to be on the show. We had Jason Alexander see it, call us up, say, can I ever be on this? We put him in it. We had Christina Applegate see it, call us up. And yesterday was Tim Oliphant from Justified. So it's a cool show. I'm psyched for people to see it.
It's called The Grinder. It debuts Tuesday. That's next Tuesday, September 29th at 8:30 on Fox, coast to coast. All right, Rob Lowe is with us. Let's pick some games here. Again, you've got big shoes to fill. We've had Chris Bosch doing this in week 2, and he went 2-1.
Ty Burrell
in
week 1
from Modern Family went 3-0 in week 1. So let's see how we do. We got the Eagles and the Jets. 0-2 Philadelphia, 2-0 Jets. Rob Lowe, who do you like?
I think this is the easiest pick we're looking at here, and I'm going with the Jets. I don't quite understand what's going on in Philadelphia right now.
I don't think Philadelphia quite understands what's going on in Philadelphia right now.
But you just saw the Jets play your Colts on Monday Night Football. Most people know you're a big fan of the Colts, and most of the narrative coming out of that game was about the struggles of Indianapolis. What did you think of the Jets?
Well, first of all, the most entertaining thing about it was Chuck Pagano's press conference afterwards for me. I was like, whoa, interesting. Listen, every time I talk about the Colts, it makes headlines, and so I've learned my lesson after saying Peyton Manning's retiring. So I tread on dangerous ground here, but I don't know what's going. I love Andrew Luck. I love him. And I just don't think he has the firepower around him. But something's. Here's my fear. I feel like something's up in Indy. I don't know what it is, but something's up. So I think this is a big week for them as well.
Well, let's do that game next then. Colts at the Titans. So you got the young Marcus Mariota against Andrew Luck sitting at 0-2. Do you have confidence your team turns it around?
Listen, they have to. Look, not surprisingly, I'm a big believer in the star system. Andrew Luck's a star. Mariota's a young punk. So, Andrew Luck's got to take him to school, period. End of story.
I'd love to see you and Ty Burrell run into each other, by the way, because he's the world's biggest Marcus Mariota fan.
Exactly.
So that would be a great fight to see.
By the way, I love Marcus Mariota as a player and as a young man. I've spent a lot of time in Hawaii, and obviously they love him there, and for good reason. But this is the NFL. I've seen Brian's song. I know what rookies are supposed to be doing.
That's exactly right. Absolutely. You for this week, you don't like him. That's just the way it works.
That's the way it works. Exactly. He's going to have his time. He's the future. Andrew Luck's got to be right now, and he's got to be this Sunday.
And then final game we have for you is Cincinnati and Baltimore. Bengals and Ravens. Baltimore off to an 0-2 start, so they desperately need this one at home. Who do you like?
This is the one I think is tougher for me anyway. This would be the one if I was in Vegas I probably wouldn't bet, and I'd try to pick another game. Because I just don't have any feel for either one of these teams. I've never had a feel for the Bengals, And we're going back to 1974 when I say that, because I grew up in Dayton. And I grew up in Dayton and was a Steelers fan. So what does that tell you about how I feel about the Bengals? Or, as we call them in Southern Ohio, the Bungles. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with the Ravens on this.
All right, so Rob Lowe's got the Colts, he's got the Jets, and he's got the Ravens for our Week 3 picks, and he has his new show coming out, debuts next Tuesday on Fox, 8:30 for The Grinder with Fred Savage. Rob, we're both fans. This is really great. Thanks very much for doing this.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, this was great. Let's do it again sometime.
Mike and Mike.
Here's a man who's just slightly older than that and also makes Stacey and I very proud. Whenever we see him on TV. Here's our buddy Ron Jaworski on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Good morning, Jaws.
Well, I'm glad I make you proud. Thank you.
How are you, Jaws? What'd you think last night? So here's a lot of we're hearing from a lot of fans this morning in Washington who are frustrated because they hear what they perceive to be Jay Gruden making a lot of excuses for Kirk Cousins and the mistakes that he makes when Jay Gruden was highly critical of Robert Griffin's performances in practice. So I think that there are a lot of people who don't like the way that sort of is shaping up. What did you see last night from Cousins?
Well, I really don't know about the noise that surrounds this quarterback situation and the drama. You know, I try to base my opinions on what I see in the field, and I've always felt this way about Kirk Cousins. He certainly does have NFL ability, but he predetermines far too many throws. And you can't do that in this league because the defense will bait you. They will set you up. His first interception was a clear example of that. He came out of the huddle throwing that play-action seam, and you've got to snap your head around and see the defense. And I call guys that predetermine those types of throws slow blinkers, because when you come out that fake, you've got to see it, and he just doesn't see those throws. And I know there's a zillion stats. Our ESPN stat guys have, we get reams of stats every week. There's really only one stat to me that is the most important stat, and that is turning the football over. So far this year in the NFL, if you are -1 or worse in the turnover takeaway category, you lose 85% of the time. I'm going to tell my quarterback, you throw an interception, you're going to sit next to me on the bench. You cannot turn the football over. Look at the numbers of all the great quarterbacks. They take care of the football. They're judicious where they throw it. And when you watch Cousins, he's just not careful with the football.
On the other side of that, you see Victor Cruz not back yet, but Ruben Randle has 7 catches, a touchdown. Odell Beckham Jr. has a 7 catches and a touchdown. If you get Victor Cruz back, you can only think of the possibilities that could happen. Your thought on this, not offense total, because I don't think it's a great running game, but the passing offense potential that the Giants have going forward, given what the rest of the shape the rest of this division is in right now.
Yeah, Mike, I agree with you. I mean, it could be a very dynamic offense in the passing game. They certainly lack a receiving tight end. They've got more, blocking type tight ends, and maybe Donald will come around and, maybe the hands will improve and he'll do a better job of getting open, but he's kind of an afterthought in their offense. But when they get, that bevy of wide receivers back, they could be dangerous. And let's not forget the guy under center. They have a professional quarterback in Eli Manning. I think Eli Manning has played very well this year, and I know people are going to talk about the couple gaps that he's had the last couple games, but Eli knows how to play the position. If you can protect Eli Manning, this could be a very dynamic passing game.
I agree. Mike and Mike, Ron Jaworski, were presented by Progressive Insurance. The Philadelphia Eagles, it feels like everyone in the world has been talking about them. I have been waiting all week to ask you this question, and I will steal this from our friend Mr. Berman. Eagles, what?
Well, I'll speak about them offensively, and I spend a lot of time because obviously I live in the Philadelphia area, and that's always the topic in this town. And when you're 0-2, it's what's wrong with the Eagles, and particularly on their offense, where they've been dominant for 2 years. And really, what is shown to me, besides some offensive linemen not playing as well as they're capable of playing, I think they become predictable. And I went through their shotgun runs, guys. This year, they got 27 runs for 40 yards out of the shotgun running game. And it's 1.8 yards per carry. It's been predictable. Whenever the back lines up alongside of Sam Bradford, 22 of those 27 shotguns run have gone away from him. So I'm watching Dallas, I'm watching Atlanta, and they are slanting and scraping right to the point of attack. So when you're running to a specific area of the field, 81% of the time out of a specific formation, that's predictability. So now, when you look at Chip Kelly, what's he going to do? He's got to change this up. They've got to do a better job of self-scouting, and they've got to find a way to get the offense cranked up. And the receivers did not beat man-to-man coverage, and Sam Bradford looks a little bit frenetic. Other than that, everything's fine in Philadelphia.
I was just going to say, all great. It has to start, though. Listen, at the end of the day, the players on the field have to beat the players on the other side of the ball, to which, if they don't, then Chip Kelly has only himself to blame because he chose all the talent. But what's on his plate is, I think, just what you said. You can't be predictable. I mean, these are smart players in the NFL. They watch tape, they see tendencies, and they're going to figure things out. So in your mind, and I would agree, it would be incumbent on him. He's got to start mixing it up better.
Yeah, no question about it. You know, and here's what I'm going to watch this week. They play the Jets, who are a very good defensive team, and they just might be, by the end of the season, the best defensive team in the NFL. The Eagles have played Atlanta. They have a mediocre defense. Dallas, not a great defense. They play with tremendous discipline. And, oh, by the way, Sean Lee just flashes. I mean, this guy makes play after play after play. When he's healthy, you know, you can put him in that Luke Kuechly, Khalil Mack type categories, impact football players. But they're going to face the Jets this week. And Todd Bowles has that Jet defense flying around. And Sam Bradford is going to get hit. And we're going to see in this game if he can hang in there, look down that gun barrel, deliver the football. And could this wide receiving core, which, you know, was very good against Atlanta, that plays predominantly zone, can they beat man-to-man coverage? They didn't do it against Dallas. Let's see if they can do it against a couple of the best corners and put in Buster Screen at safety. You know, that's a heck of a coverage group.
Jaws, not a game that I think is going to garner a lot of ratings. Oakland coming to Cleveland, but storylines. First, with Cleveland, did they make the right decision in going back to Josh McCown? And then for the Raiders, how far along do you see Derek Carr coming?
Yeah, I think at the moment it is the right decision with McCown, although I will say I have been impressed with the improvement of Johnny Manziel. He has made some plays. He still plays a little bit fast, but I get it. He's only in his second year. He hasn't had the experience that you need. He's missed some time in training camp in the offseason, but I did see improvement. But I think it's still good to have McCown under there. You got a steady leader that can handle that offense. But I'll tell you this, a guy that has impressed me has been Derek Carr. When I studied him in the offseason for my quarterback big board, I liked what I saw. Very conservative passing game, didn't do a whole lot, but this year they've now expanded it. And really what has impressed me about Derek Carr, particularly last week against the Baltimore Ravens, he was tremendous against the Ravens blitz packages. 6 for 8, 120 yards and a touchdown. And they were those exotic type schemes, so they didn't fool him. And he's also got great mobility and some excellent wide receivers, which really help when you got Cooper and Crabtree on the outside.
Whole lot of talk going on about Andrew Luck. Well, how much fault is in his lap? How much with the offensive line up front? What's going on with that offense? What are you seeing out of Andrew Luck? We know he's a great quarterback that you think he needs to improve upon the most.
Well, the skill set is there. We all know that. The naked eye can see when you watch Andrew Luck play the game. He's one of the premier quarterbacks in the game from a skill set. But the quarterback position is a dependent position. You depend on other people doing their job. The offensive line right now isn't doing their job well enough to allow Andrew Luck to get the ball down the field. They are not a dink and dunk style of offense. They want to get the ball down the field. He's not getting that time. And they've got to get their equilibrium back. They've got to have balance. They've got to get Frank Gore involved in this running game. They've got to stay out of those predictable passing situations, and Luck will be fine because he's got way too much talent to be struggling.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt. Frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
The best of Mike and Mike.
CC had it right. Before we bring Joey into the conversation, only 2 qualified quarterbacks in history have a higher completion percentage than Aaron Rodgers. One of them, and actually he's number one all time, is Drew Brees.
Yep.
Drew Brees with a completion percentage of 66.2. The other one, who is actually tied with Rodgers on the list, he's just, like a thousandth of a point ahead of him. Care to take a guess?
The way you're saying that, it's like we're not going to get it.
Well, I have a wry smile on my face for a different reason.
Chad Pennington?
Chad Pennington. Chadwick Pennington.
Because he could only throw the ball 5 yards downfield. I apologize.
Not
Chad
nice.
Came on our show when we were out there. That was a cheap shot. I admit it.
Yes, you should be shunned.
Yeah.
Cris Carter is here, and so is his longtime Ohio State running mate, our own Joey Galloway, who's in our studio, who deserves props, and I gave it to him on Twitter this weekend. You were the only person I know who picked Notre Dame to beat Georgia Tech last week.
Did I almost talk you out of it?
Yeah, you were scared.
I was.
You were really a professional opinion.
It was.
The only problem was I was really bad on the weekend. I also picked Boston College. I also stuck in there with Auburn. But so I needed Notre Dame. You know what I mean? I needed them to win, and they came through for me.
They did. That defense, fantastic.
And you got it, but when you needed it, I was just asking you off the air before we start going through some of this stuff. If you right now were to run a 40-yard dash, if we just set up a 40-yard dash for you right now, how fast could you run?
Fast. Right now, this minute, not very good, because what I have found in my old age is that traveling kills me. Like getting on airplanes kills me. Before this, I actually did run this off season. I trained and then I messed around and I took a couple trips and then I did one on film with the electronic timer on it, and it was a 4.31. The reason I didn't put it out there was it didn't look good. Like my running motion didn't look good in the last 10 yards because I had started traveling. That's where I realized I can't travel and still run.
How much can you bench press?
Bench press, I don't go above 315 now. Like I don't.
Me neither.
No.
Yeah, I don't.
Still lifting that much.
Joe, how much did you used to lift?
400, but that was back in the day. And
how
now
much did you weigh?
You start 195.
Strong kid. Wow.
He's just a freakish athlete.
Did you call him a kid again? He getting ready to bench press you?
Kid. I mean, I'm being nice because I'm older. I was going to ask what's first to happen. You run a 4.4 or pull a hammy.
I mean, that was one of the things. After I left Ohio State, Joey came after I left Ohio State, and I was playing the pros, and it kind of really started us having a lot of receivers starting to come to Ohio State, and I could see how good he was. The weight coach was like, man, you're not going to believe this kid. And I was like, stop. No, he can run a 4.2. I was like, come on now, stop. No, he bench presses 400 pounds. I said, now stop. I see him playing. I can see he's a great player. But the stories off the field,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
$4 bills for a wide receiver.
All right, let's get into something before I start sweating out here.
Okay, very good. Joey, he does not like for us to be complimenting him in this way. If you ever said anything like this about me, I'd be delirious.
I would say, which is stunning for a wide receiver. I mean, normally they're saying that about themselves.
What do we got? You got some topics, and what we got?
I got topics. Okay, let's start before we get to you guys in Alabama, because they still, in Ohio State, they won. They didn't look real good, but they won. That's a game a lot of teams lose, and they didn't. Let's start with Alabama. One of the narratives coming out of that game against Mississippi that you heard from some places was, this is the end. I saw someone write, if it isn't the end of the Nick Saban era at Alabama, you can see it from here. Is that being overstated, or are we seeing a significant return to the pack right now of what has been the preeminent program for the last 8 to 10 years?
I think they're coming back to the pack. I think it has a lot to do with recruiting. And I think that there's a couple areas where Nick has not been successful at other positions. Number one is quarterback. Yep. They have really missed or under-recruited, analyzed, because they spend so much money in tape and watching young kids play that they have really missed on a lot of quarterbacks. They have settled for managers of a football game compared to stars. 5 stars, like everybody else, you got to be a 4.5 to 5-star to even get a letter from them. But their quarterbacks, they're settling for game managers, so they don't have playmakers. Also with the wide receiver, they got Julio, all right? Then they got Amari. Now, Amari left Miami to go to them. He slipped to them. So besides that, who are the playmakers they have besides their tailbacks? Now, they're going to always have 2 or 3 big tailbacks because you're in the South. You want to go to Alabama and run the ball. But for me, those are the things that have tripped Nick up a little bit. And I would say the third thing is the hurry-up offense. because he can't control the game with his defense, and he does not like to hurry up offense.
Yeah, but who is the pack, though? When you say coming back to the pack, who is the pack? Because until somebody consistently comes out of the SEC besides Alabama, I can't say that they're coming back to the pack. Now, they may lose a game along the way. They lost one last year to Ole Miss. That's why it's such a surprise. Ole Miss beat them again.
Right.
But can Ole Miss sustain it? Can Mississippi State sustain it? And that's when, you start talking about coming back to the pack. Because right now, Alabama, they lost everything on the offensive side of the ball. The quarterback, Amari Cooper, running back, 3 offensive, and they came out ranked number 3 in the country to begin this. And I said at the time, there is no other team in the country that could lose what they lost and come out as number 3 in the preseason. They're going to be a good football team. I agree. Quarterback play right now is despicable. It wasn't the spring last year. Blake Sims made an improvement from spring to the season, becoming a functional quarterback. And with Alabama, if they get a functional quarterback, not they had to be great. If they get a functional guy, then they'll be fine.
The one issue I have, though, is the 2 things you could always count on with Nick Saban. So running back and the defense. Yes. And their defense is giving up points and big plays. To me, that's almost as big a worry as anything else. And I do think the hurry-up offense has something to do with that. But that's been their staple. Has been a front 7 and don't give up big plays, and that's changing.
And people have sold that front 7 as a great front. I have no clue why. Nobody is disruptive. They don't have a guy.
Could be reputation.
They have guys that'll be. You're absolutely. They have guys that'll be better in the NFL. Reed and Robinson on the inside, 300-pound guys that you can't move. NFL type guys. But when these spread offenses come in, they run around those guys. It doesn't matter. They stand in the middle. They clog it up. And you could see it. Ole Miss got to the goal line, and they tried to run through the middle like 3 times. Couldn't get an inch. And then what they do, they ran that little sweep play, and the guy walked into the end zone.
I'm as Alabama, the perception has changed because we were on the show, and before the national championship game, Golic, with your son was
right.
I mean, they had 20 NFL players.
Yeah, they did.
Yep.
And very, very intimidating. Compared to last year playing the semifinals against Ohio State, we were getting ready to do that game. We felt a lot more confident because it's not as if Alabama's come back to the pack. They're just not as talented. This is a different Alabama team. And a comment on your struggle with the defensive back. Look at the guys they've had there the last 4 or 5 years. D. Milner,
right?
Dre Kirkpatrick, Mark Barron,
Clinton Dix.
All these guys except Clinton Dix have struggled in pro football.
Yeah, they have.
I mean, they've struggled in pro. They got pros out there playing, but when they transferred over to the pro game, they weren't, quite as good.
Let's keep Joey here. By the way, if you did run a 4.31 at the age of 43, that would have been the second fastest 40 time at the combine this season of any drafted player. Only Miami's J.J. Nelson ran faster.
Would you
Joey
go
Galloway
so far
is fast.
as to say, Joey, that you could still play in the NFL like Herschel Walker said he could?
No. I don't want to. If I even think of getting tackled, my stomach hurts.
Isn't that a horrific feeling to play? Try to play at our age to go back and do that? Oh
man, I know a lot of guys weren't good when they were young.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
Let me put Joey in the situation.
Yes.
You're in an elevator with a pregnant woman. It gets stuck. The elevator's just stuck and stopped.
Right.
And the woman goes into labor. What do? Are you helping or are you a hindrance?
What do you mean by helping?
Well,
you're delivering the baby.
No.
What are you going to do then? What is she going to do?
No. That's none of my business.
Hey, look. It's in your business. You're in the elevator.
Hey, look.
Wait a minute.
When the elevator first gets stuck, I'm cool.
Yeah.
If she starts to have that baby, you know how you seen on the movies where they pop the top of that thing off? And that's me. Hey, look.
You're ditching the pregnant woman.
No. Not ditching. Stay here. I'm going to go get help.
Oh, me too.
What do you mean?
Stop. What is the and obviously you're going fast because you're fast.
What is the other option? I'm confused. What do you want me to do?
Do you have to deliver the baby? She's pushing the baby's coming out.
Here's you. Deliver the baby. Like what?
Listen, I'm not saying we're going to be perfect at it, but don't you have to help?
You can't leave her alone.
Well, yeah. What if she delivers a baby when you're not?
You keep putting your hands like this when you say that sentence as if it's going to just come on out of there, and you're like, I got
help somehow.
I got catch it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how this works. Listen. My wife had 2 children. I'm a north of the equator father. I'm standing up there. I was mopping a brow. I was holding a hand. I wasn't down there.
No.
I mean, there's stuff going on down there.
It's an emergency, though.
You gotta help.
Listen,
You've seen the movies, right? You can get out the top.
Oh my God!
Back in 10 seconds.
Wow.
Mike and Mike.
The man who was part of the action last night, 11 carries last night, caught 3 more passes for 25 yards as the Giants got their first win of the season. Is live with us. Rashad Jennings is on Mike and Mike with Mike, and Cris Carter. Good morning, Rashad. Congratulations.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. I know teams, generally speaking, hate playing the Thursday game. It throws off the schedule and everything. But considering the way your first 2 weeks had gone, the difficulty of the losses and all of the sort of negativity around you guys, do you think it worked to your advantage that you had a short week this week?
There's no question it did. When you start off the season 0-2 and, you just got that sick taste in your mouth, especially when you walk back in the locker room every single game feeling that, it was because of ourselves. You can't wait to get back out and outperform. And it was a game in the division. It counted twice against a good opponent, so it felt good to get that win.
So you start out the scoring with the safety off the block punt, and you certainly work on blocking punts all the time, whether it's an outside move, inside move, whatever. Do you work on a lot of times blocking a punt with the person that's blocking you? I mean, could you have taken him any further back into the punt at all in that?
That's something I practice a lot, actually. I remember, dating back to my rookie year, coming in, a little snot-nosed rookie, not knowing too much anything, and backing up Maurice Jones-Drew. I told myself, if I want to make this team, I got to figure out something. So I learned a knack for blocking punts and how to protect the quarterback. So that's something I still carry with me.
Rashad, that's a great quality to have, especially for a starter. You don't see a lot of starters playing special teams. But my question is, there was penalties on both sides, so they had to re-kick again, and they also called roughing the kicker. Weren't you a little nervous after last week when you took that inside move that you might be called for roughing again? Because that was a great move you made.
Yeah, I did. I thought about it, but my mindset is if it's 4th and 6 or more, I know that penalty is usually just going to be 5 yards. So that's just my mindset. And when they called it on both sides, I say, yeah, we got a shot to go at it one more time.
Well, great way to start off the game, and you guys obviously go on for the victory. But tell me this. So you get your first win. In the first 2 games, you're up 10 at some point in the fourth quarter, and you lose the first 2 games. In this one, going into the fourth quarter, it's 18-6, and then you make it 25-6, or into the fourth quarter, then you make it 25-6. What's the feeling on the sideline? Is there any, trepidation or any, okay, we got it this time? Or what's the feeling knowing the 2 previous games you had lost double-digit leads?
Those 2 games were frustrating as a unit. That's the way we work, the way we prepare, and to come out both of those games without a victory. We took that to heart. And, obviously, under the leadership of Coach Coughlin, that's not something that, he tolerates well. And so, through the fourth quarter, and everybody on the sideline, we all collectively put up our hand just to remind ourselves, this is something we got to finish. We've been here twice, and we got to find a way to come out with the victory. And as a unit, that's what we did. Obviously, I can speak for the team. I don't think we won the game how we wanted to win the game. There's still a lot of things to clean up. It's a long season. Feels good to get the win, but it's we still not there yet.
It's a rarity in the National Football League for a running back like yourself. You turned 30 this offseason, but it's also a rarity to have a player like Odell Beckham Jr. People ask me all the time. I watch a lot of tape, a lot of receivers. You as his teammate and seeing a lot of good receivers, what are the things that make him the player that he is?
He's special, man. I remember last year, his rookie year, and we was doing OTAs, and the way he caught a slant, a simple slant, I turned to Peyton Hillis and was like, hey, he's going to be special. But obviously everybody sees the flash, but behind the scenes, nobody sees how much of a competitor he truly is, the way he prepares for the game. And I remember, the thing that stood out to me, as you say, a 30-year-old vet, when he got injured last year, he came up to me and said, Rashad, I want you to teach me how to take care of my body. And for a young kid that has that much talent, that wants to be great, that works at it, and cares about his craft and taking care of his body, that's really what stood out. And, he's a competitor, man. When he's on the field, he wants to make a play, so that makes him special.
Love hearing that. The young players asking vets, that seemed to have gone away for a while, and I think still to a point it has. So that's great to hear. Rashad Jennings, running back of the Giants, joining us here. Mike and Mike CC joining us as well. So Tom Coughlin, after the game, tells the media, hey, everybody smile. We won. You guys got to win with a lead in the fourth quarter. You get the first win of the season. What was his message to you guys after the game, after this win?
The message is that, we got to win against a good team. And, again, we're not there yet. Enjoy the victory with the long weekend, but, we got to turn around and get on this road and collect some more wins. And
speaking of a Thursday win, short week's always tough. How about those 10 days after, though? Pretty sweet, isn't it?
It's always nice. It is. You can smile for a second and get the body back right. So we're going to enjoy this weekend, watch some football, get our bodies back to 100, and continue down the stretch.
Regardless, Tom Coughlin, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, even Archie Manning. Dog, you get the ball inside the 5-yard line. Score that thing, please. Score.
At least, if nothing else,
okay.
If nothing else, at least for the people that have you on as their fantasy team.
Yeah.
This has been the best of Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio Pod Center. To hear more from Mike and Mike, log on to ESPNRadio.com and become an ESPN Radio Insider.
The best of Mike and Mike.
The Pirates and Cardinals have the best 2 records in baseball, and they go head-to-head one final time this regular season. Could this be a preview of next week's division series? Coverage begins Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio.